Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of What's Offensive Weekly. In this episode, we're going to continue our conversation about gun control, especially in light of the recent shooting there in Florida, which was tragic. So we're going to continue to talk about that and ideas and how our society is dealing with guns. We're also going to talk about why, as a society, we seem to value the opinions of certain celebrities, whether it's athletes or actors or whatever the case might be. Why do we care what they think? And should we? So hope you guys are ready for another good episode. This is a lot of fun, this one. There's a lot of laughs. So listen, toughen your skin up. It's What's Offensive Weekly.
I brought this up before, but I'm on a political page, Medina Debates Politics on Facebook. And somebody asked a question. They said, okay, I want to know what is a plan to eliminate all of this or to get under control,
Okay.
without talking about guns, or gun control. And I said, tackle the mental health issue. We need to make, I think that's number one, first and foremost, over everything, is we need to have mental health accessible and affordable, possibly free, to anyone who needs it. And so when I said, and then I said, we need to restore family values, hold people accountable for, restore somehow, get men and women to not flake out on their families, again, I believe that the best place for a child to be raised is with a loving mother and father in a home. Okay. And one of the responses was a lady was very angry with me when I said that. It was very matter of fact. I wasn't, being a jerk. 99% of the time I am. Yeah. I was just stating what the 2 points that I thought. And she got very irate, saying that depression runs in her family, and that she guarantees that she is just as mentally stable as I am. And I said, well,
that says more about your instability.
That's exactly it. Exactly. And I said, well, I'm
sorry.
You don't know me, so you have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, you can't possibly make that determination. You're trying to make yourself feel better because you have a mental illness. You can get better. It'll get better. Just keep trying. And then I was just, I was a jerk. And then she says, well, I could see what kind of person you are. Mm-hmm. And then I said, well, yeah, one that should be allowed to own a gun, unlike you. And then that was the end of it. So,
and then I was kicked off the group.
Yeah, right. Well, no. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is, well,
people get very upset about it because, I think that's a real problem. I was having this talk with my daughter the other day. She's, 13. And I said, I don't have an answer for this. I'm just saying people were not always as crazy. I'm telling you, there is something going on. I don't know whether it's, you can say it could be literally anything, the freaking climate change or cell phone radiation or whatever, something is making people crazy, because I guarantee you this, anybody, I don't know one person who doesn't know somebody who's on some sort of mental medication, whether it be for depression or anxiety or whatever. And everybody has something, I have some sort of anxiety as well in certain situations and that type of thing. But, and I'm not saying I'm totally free, I'm not saying I'm the picture of perfect mental health or anything like that, but I'm saying it's way more prevalent nowadays than it used to be. And people will argue, well, it's just more diagnosed now. Whereas I truly believe that people are just crazier, and I don't know what it is. I don't know where it comes from. Again, they could say, well, we didn't have these school shootings back before 20 years ago.
Yeah. I wonder, like, if in 10 years, say, that's when the studies are going to come out and show the adverse side effects of aluminum.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And all of a sudden we start seeing that. We start seeing the adverse effects of whether it be cellular technology on the brain,
different foods that's grown.
Yeah. So I wonder
kinds of things.
I wonder about things like that. I also wonder, and if you'd told me in the 1980s that I was going to say this one day, I would have wanted to jump off a cliff. But I do wonder sometimes about some of the video games and the music. I'm really showing my age here. But the reason being is that there really does become a desensitization about these matters. Let me give you an example. And I think I've mentioned this to you at some other time in another podcast about where this guy had told me this one time, and I don't have any study to back it up, but if you guys will just listen to me, I think you'll see that there's some validity in this. If the human brain can basically process and emotionally deal with something appropriately, if you are told that 3 people die, it can grasp that, and it can appropriately emotionally respond to that. Okay. When you move beyond, so when 100 people are killed, when 9/11 happens, your brain cannot fathom that number. Therefore, it can't emotionally even respond to it.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So in our society, so when you have these mass shootings, somehow that's easier than killing 3. So for the individual to kill 2 or 3, especially if it's 2 or 3 that you know, that is more difficult than going into a place where strangers, and I'm just going to mow them down. That you can emotionally disconnect yourself from.
And I think that leads back to what I was saying before about conspiracy theories. I think that people, that's how they emotionally deal with these things. And they say, well, yeah, it's 3,000 people died, but you know what? It was all staged. There wasn't really people who really wanted to kill people. It was the government, which is my favorite, phrase, because it creates a faceless, monster that it's easy to blame, but very hard to pinpoint to an exact person.
Yeah.
So you just say the man, the government, the company, whatever. I mean,
and see, here's the sad part about it is that these conspiracy theorists, there's something there. Okay. We're not living underneath a government that is flawless, does not have levels of corruption, that does not do some of this crazy shit that they do. They absolutely do. Barack Obama told the IRS, I want you to go, and anybody who's talked bad about it, all of a sudden we're going to audit them. He did that. He abused that power.
Sure.
And I'm not so naive as to think if and when Trump has that opportunity, he's not, if he hasn't already, going to do the same thing.
Sure.
All right? So I know that our government does things that I remember years ago somebody said, if you knew everything that your government did or is doing, you wouldn't want to leave your house. And I believe that. We can operate, we are operating out of blind trust in a certain degree.
Sure. It's kind of like, I used to work at a restaurant when I was a teenager. And I always said that if you knew what happened behind the scenes at a restaurant, you would never eat at a restaurant again. No. I don't even think about it now. I just totally block it out when I go, wow, the food looks great and it tasted great. That's all I care about. I don't care that the guy was picking his ass right beforehand or slapping his wiener on my fries. I just try not to think about that stuff.
But what restaurant do you think this is, so I can be sure to avoid it?
All of them.
All right. I've worked at restaurants too, and I don't ever remember either of those 2 incidents ever occurring. But I know that crazy stuff happens.
Yeah.
No 2 ways around it. But yeah, we sometimes, ignorance is bliss. We will continue to operate underneath that. But the point is, the conspiracy theorists, there is a reason why some of these are valid, and that is because these governments are imperfect. I love, for instance, that we're going to get all riled up because the Russians interfered. Okay. So you're saying we never have. Come on. How self-righteous.
Sure, that's true, but in the same respect, it's like does 2 wrongs make a right?
No, it doesn't. But are you as equally abhorred that your own government does it? No, because you think, well, because we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. Well, guess what? They think the same thing.
Right.
All right? So everybody just needs to stop it.
We are the good guys.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. But back to my thing here. I didn't, my buddy Dan sent me something here, but I usually don't open it because it's always usually extremely pornographic or having to do with midgets or both. But this is in relation to the shooting. Somebody tweeted out here. It says, if a gunman can walk into a military base like Fort Hood with 100% of the populace highly trained in firearm use and still murder 13 people with a pistol, Do you honestly think that 20% of the teachers having a gun is going to stop the next killer who may have an AR-15? And that's true, because somebody else has said that too. Every cop who's ever been killed has had a firearm on them too.
It will deter it. I don't know how anyone could argue that. I'm never saying, is it going to completely alleviate it? It'll never happen again. No, but it absolutely would be a deterrent. Because again,
to a normal thinking person,
even not, you said it yourself. There is an interest in survival.
Sure.
Okay.
But it didn't deter that guy from going into a military base.
No.
Would you, if you wanted to kill
pissed.
people?
He was pissed.
Exactly. Everybody's pissed who wants to kill somebody. It's not like they go in there with a fucking smile on their face.
Here's the difference I would see between this school shooting and this thing here.
Yeah.
The school shooting, this kid is angry at this entity. I think he's angry at this entity. He is angry at life, and he is going to go ahead and just do destruction. I can't remember all the details of this scenario, but this guy was going. This is like a postal shooting, where they're going in because they're so pissed at that manager, they're so pissed at this director, they're so pissed at whoever their leader was that they're going to go ahead and take care of them. So that's the difference here. Furthermore, I'd say, how often does that happen? Where they're going in there and they're killing a number of armed military soldiers? No.
True, but in the same respect, police officers are killed every day. They're packing guns.
By who? Killed by who?
Killed by who? What do you think, aliens?
No, that's the important distinction, though. Are you saying they're killed by other cops, or you're saying they're killed...
They're killed by people who aren't afraid to shoot at them, even though they know that they have a gun.
Yes.
Awkward silence.
I'm trying to think of how I want to respond to it. I'm trying to think of... So imagine how much more murders there would be if the cops weren't armed.
What's the murder rate for cops in England?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
But
we're both retarded.
But I can only look here in the United States, and I can only presume that if all of a sudden we said, guys, if you could just turn your weapons in, thanks. Go ahead and do your patrol today, and go stop that drug bust over there. We're pretty sure they're probably packing.
Right.
Those cops are going to die because there are sociopaths are not only limited to being school shooters. Sociopaths are going into drug dealing. They're going into prostitution. Anything in which you are dehumanizing somebody.
Sure.
If they don't care about that, if they view that woman as as an object that is there to make them money, and they can dehumanize her in that way, what makes you think they're not going to dehumanize the man who's saying, hey, you need to stop that? You're going to go down just like she will.
Boom. That's right. You know what we need to do? I just thought of it. These guys who, they go in there with their guns and everything, and the cops have guns, and the bad guys stop because, they're afraid of being shot. Well, what about, if they didn't have guns, they wouldn't be afraid of getting shot. But what if we gave all the cops web shooters?
Like Spider-Man?
Yeah, like Spider-Man. They could just web them up.
Can they shoot a gun through the web?
Yeah.
So, I guess that's not going to work.
Shit.
Well, we tried.
No, what Spider-Man does is he webs up the guns and then webs up the people.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Spider-Man doesn't kill. See?
I have a better idea. How about we all become like Superman and the bullets just ricochet off of us?
Now we're talking. That's fantastic.
There we go. There's a solution. Send that into Trump.
Okay. All right. Or we could all get bracelets like Wonder Woman and just bounce them off.
What I'd like us to talk about a little bit is right now you are seeing in our society, there seems to be this real movement toward everybody share your opinions. What do you think about it? And I'd like us to go ahead and spend a little time talking about that. Are you okay with that, Jeff?
Sure.
All right. So when these kids who were directly affected by it, I'm going to presume that there weren't any activist actors in there that were hired by any news entity. I'm going to presume these were all legitimately kids who knew kids that died.
Okay.
When CNN starts to interview them, what are you okay with? What are you not okay with?
Well, I didn't see any of the interviews. I didn't actually watch the interviews myself. I saw all the stuff about conspiracy theories about this kid, this main kid who was doing a lot of the talking, and supposedly he wants to be an actor or newscaster. I don't know, whatever.
I don't think it's going to happen now,
and I don't think so either. But they said that he was, and I don't know how true this is, and I'm just relaying a rumor or whatever. But he was supposedly during when it was happening, he was interviewing kids who he was holed up with in the classroom.
You're not talking about the shooter. You're talking about one of the kids that went on
one
CNN.
Of the kids, yeah, on CNN.
Okay, all right. I'm clear now. I was losing. I thought you were saying that the shooter wanted to be an actor. Okay.
No.
So one of the kids who was later interviewed wanted to be an actor, and in fact, I think I'd heard the same thing, that he was interviewing some of the people he was holed up with. Okay, go ahead.
And then you see all these. It frustrates me because you don't know the whole story. One of the things about the internet that just drives me absolutely crazy is that you'll see a clip of, say, a cop beating a guy. Let's just hypothetical, whatever. Yeah. Because we all know cops don't beat people. But I say a cop beating a guy, okay? Yeah. And the people will be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he did that. We should fucking cops suck. Blah, blah, blah. We should do this, that." What you didn't see is the 3 minutes before that, when the cop was very level-headed and calm and trying to talk to this person, and then he pulled a gun on him or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And you only see certain sections of video, and that's what people really have to realize about this shit is you're only seeing what they want you to see. And when I say they, I mean whatever news organization is coming out there, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, whoever, that you're only seeing that. So then when I see these pictures of these kids laughing, that was a big thing. People were like, "Well, look at them. They're laughing." And there was 4 kids from the shooting that they were interviewing, and they were having some sort of like photo session, or whatever, for CNN purposes or whatever, And there was like these behind the scenes things where they were all like laughing. I'm like, well, you can still laugh. It's okay. Right. It's not like people are acting like they're laughing like somebody just said, "Hey, 17 of your friends just got killed." Wah! No, correct. It's still a few days after the shooting. You can have a moment of laughter. It's okay.
Yeah, you probably should.
You probably should. It's good for the soul. Exactly. Yeah. And, and then the same thing with everybody's making this big stink about Trump going to visit all these kids in the hospital, and he's there with a smile on his face, with a thumbs up. Yeah. And again, this troll guy was there on the Medina page, and he's all like, he posts this meme about, "This is Trump giving a thumbs up and a big smile on his face. Did this happen? Did his team just win the Super Bowl? Did blah 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 happen, or did 17 children just get murdered?" And he's there. And then what I did was I took this guy's profile picture and I posted it, and I said, "This is Brad. Brad is laughing and has a drink in his hand. And this is after 9/11. He doesn't care about the 9/11 victims." Mm-hmm. It's the same fucking thing. Yeah. I mean, I understand Trump was there for that specific purpose or whatever, but again, you want to, as a president, you want to, I understand it's a somber moment. I get it. I get why people, but in the same respect, you got to understand that, you're the president. You're a movie star, whoever. You're typically used to when the camera's there. You smile and whatever, and you also want to give a thumbs up is a meaning of solidarity and happiness. Whatever you want to try to portray that.
If the shot is of him in the high school with the bodies.
Right.
This is inappropriate. Like, thumbs up. Hey, look at this. Yeah. Huge. That's wrong. Okay. I will give you that. And I'm not saying that this is a man it's impossible for him to do something like that. Sure. All right. He is dumb in many, many regards.
I agree.
But I'm not gonna say that because he gave thumbs up and he smiled in the hospital where they're receiving care and they're improving, that I'm gonna say, "Oh, no, you need to be down-faced." I'm not gonna do that. I also want to say, I never, ever, ever want to be on your bad side. Never. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not the first time I thought that. I'm like, this guy's for real.
One of my friends said that
he'll
before.
He'll burn your freaking house down.
It's easier to be my friend than to be my enemy.
Oh, yeah. It is dramatically. Like, when I hear this stuff, it just gives me a chill up my spine. Like, oh, my God. Yeah. So I put Scott's address online. Here's his garage
Well,
code.
It's 5694, by the way.
Yeah, unbelievable. So, all right. So the thing I want to say is, I'm okay, and I think it would probably be good reporting to a degree that on the day or the day after that they are interviewing people who are eyewitnesses or that were there and that were affected by it, and they can help tell me the story. We can go too far with it, where all of a sudden we're interviewing a janitor at another school, and he's saying how it affected him at some other school.
Sure.
You can get ridiculous,
right?
And this is where the media does that. The media's main goal is to keep your emotions high, because if your emotions are high, you're going to tune in. Whether it's emotions are really positive or really down, okay, that's the bottom line. So I have no problem with that, and I'll be honest with you. I have no problem with them asking the kids, how would you solve it? What do you think?
No, that's fine.
Yep.
Sure.
And I have no problem with the kids wanting to get all emotional and say, this is horrible, the guns have to stop, blah, 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 blah. Because this is the conclusion that I've come to over the last, as we've been doing this podcast. And that is when you find yourself getting offended or upset because of what somebody's saying, I firmly believe this, you're giving them power. When you allow them to say something or do something, and you automatically, it does something to your emotions. And I'm not saying you can always stop that, because sometimes legitimate things happen that should bring about emotional thing. But here's the thing. If I'm walking down the street and a kid says, "What's up, Baldy?" or to anything, something like to me.
You're not bald.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Anything he might try to say
What's
to me.
Up, Justin Bieber haircut?
What's up, Potbelly? Whatever he's going to say. There has to be a moment on my end that I'm going to have to consider the source. Yes, exactly. That's the whole idea of this whole podcast and all the podcasts is we oftentimes are automatically, we give emotional response to someone as if what they're saying is categorically true. As if they are the foremost authority in this matter.
Justin Bieber haircuts.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, that's why when you say that, I don't care.
Right.
I'm not bothered by that. by that
I know,
at all.
but in that same respect, if I look at it like this, like, I've always got my defense up. Maybe it's just me or whatever. How it's just how it is or whatever. But when somebody says something like that to you, and you say, they give you a slam.
Yeah.
And then you just say, whatever, man, or yeah, or whatever, and you don't fight back. That's like letting them punch you in the face and then just walking away. And I know you're going to say turn the other cheek.
No.
Well, fuck the other cheek.
No.
You gotta, you're just letting people walk all over you. And I was always raised to not let people walk all over me.
I'm not promoting that. What I'm saying is,
what do you say? Let's say your kid, as like you used this thing before, I said a butt face. They call him a butt face. Say somebody calls your kid a butt face. What are they supposed to do? As a parent, what do you tell them to do?
They can absolutely respond to that in an appropriate way. Here's what I don't want. Here's what I don't want, Jeff. I don't want my kids staying up at night fixating on that somebody called him a butt face.
Sure. I understand that.
That is the problem. And that's all I'm saying here.
And if his response is just whatever, that is going to keep him up at night, because he's going to be like, fuck, I should have said something else
maybe
other than that.
I can't.
I should have said, fuck you, you're the butt face.
Yeah.
Or whatever. My thing is always like you say you don't ever want to get on my bad side. Somebody does something to me, I go the one step above.
Yeah.
And then we can keep escalating it as far as you want. That's fine. But that's just my philosophy. I'm not just going to go, no, you're the butt face.
Yeah.
That doesn't give me any pleasure.
But I'm not talking. I guess what I'm saying is you're explaining like a more of an external kind of exchange, and I'm trying to speak to the internal, because it's that internal that keeps you up at 2 a.m. I'll be honest with you. There's going to be times, Jeff, that you've probably they've said A and you said screw that, and you came in 2 above them. Am I wrong that there's ever been a time that you thought I probably went too far?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying is that like I want to avoid both of those scenarios. I want to avoid me feeling bad or putting too much stock in what they said, and I also don't want to feel bad about myself because I overreacted. So that's why in my mind, like considering the source, taking that moment to say how valid is what they're saying, because you have close friends, you have family that can say some very hard things to you. And they might know what they're talking about, and they may be right on. And you don't necessarily want to discount all of that all the time.
Okay.
I'm saying that because when these kids got up and started saying this stuff, which from the reports and the interviews that I saw, it was all very much anti-gun entirely. Mm-hmm. Well, there were some people that immediately got offended and that were immediately then in turn started attacking the kids because they're sharing their opinions. I might not agree with their opinions, but I'm going to take a moment and pause and think, well, these kids have been through quite an ordeal here. I'm going to, and the other thing is, I also consider they're just kids. They're not experts in gun violence. They've not probably studied the FBI statistics. They don't know that there are actually more deaths because of handguns than rifles. And if you want to be offended by something, that maybe the more obvious thing is let's go ahead and deal with a handgun problem rather than rifles. But they don't know that. That's what I mean. Like, I want to take a moment.
I got you.
And consider it.
I understand what you're saying. But then in the same aspect, I think it's people get riled up about that stuff too, because, these kids they've literally got to speak to the president of the United States in regards to this issue.
Yeah.
And so you've got people who are very uninformed. I was uninformed at 17. Don't get me wrong.
Correct.
I was
too.
When it comes to this stuff.
I didn't believe I was uninformed.
I didn't either.
I had passion.
Absolutely. We all did, for sure. Mm-hmm. But in that same respect, that whether you believe in them or not or whatever, they are getting a main stage with the president just because somebody happened to shoot up their school. And maybe they never saw the gunman, maybe they didn't know any of the people there, but they get to go in front of the president and try to sway him. I don't think that's right.
I don't know that they were trying to sway him.
What are they trying to do then?
I think they were trying to, I think they were using him as much as he was using them.
But
Trump is not going to do something like this unless he's going to benefit from it. And this action that he took is very positive in his light. It makes him look good that he's going to take time.
It does. It does, because you've got Obama 8 years didn't do anything, but he tried with the gun control later on when the Republicans were in charge of Congress. But in the first 2 years, Democrats controlled both, and they could have easily passed something, and they didn't. So you've got zero action with all of that, but then you've got Trump, who everybody hates, and all of a sudden he's going to come in and do something about gun control. That's going to up his numbers, his approval rating, big time.
Correct. So for me, both parties, it was good for both that they could go ahead and they could voice. And I didn't like, I didn't like that the media felt it was important for them to zoom in on his notes that he had in his hand.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and one of the notes was like, quote, "I hear what you're saying." Listen. Listen, this is not Obama.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. It's going to be huge. Like he had to give himself a little note.
That's like an SNL skit or something.
But here's the thing.
I hear what you got to actually
listen to me.
Write that down.
You know what this note says? This note is, listen to me. This is really important. This note is saying he's actually heard what people have said. It's saying that you can't always just walk into a room and wing it. You need to have some points. You need to. There are some things you need to make sure that you say. So in my mind, you can go ahead and mock it all you want. It tells me that he's trying, because this cold, soulless man realizes, oh, it helps my numbers if I act like I care.
Right, I know, but I mean, do you really need to I mean, to write something like that down?
I
like,
don't.
Do you need to write something down that says like, thank you, because someone does something nice for you?
I don't. You don't. But Trump does.
I hear what you're saying.
But Trump does. Yeah. So they were up in arms about that. But I think that it was a good move on his part to go ahead and sit down with them and have this conversation, to listen to them. Where I feel it goes off the rails, where I feel it's no longer productive, is when CNN, and anybody you want, you can go ahead and YouTube it. Go ahead, and CNN has one of the shooters on there. And what happens is we move past the eyewitness reports and how it affected you to now we're politicizing it. And one of the students is on there basically saying that some of these politicians are being endorsed by child murderers. And the child murderers they're talking about is the NRA. And so the CNN reporter does nothing to clarify that, or because I'm guessing the idea is, well, they said it. I didn't say it. But I guarantee you, if that kid had said guns need to be on every teacher and the students need to be on arms, I think that CNN person would have jumped in and tried to correct that.
I agree. Yeah.
But when it says this comment, no, we're just going to go ahead and, hey, they said it. I didn't. I'm just reporting the news.
Right.
That's convenience.
And back to what we were talking about like a while ago, but it was, talking about how they brought out the spokeswoman for the NRA.
Yeah.
Dana, whatever. And it's all about they were talking about, she said how CNN puts these white children up or whatever, and it's ratings gold when they die, or whatever, paraphrasing there or whatever. And CNN was all offended about that because of that. Are they wrong?
Yeah,
it's true. It's ratings gold. And that's what the problem is today is that it's way too, all the news is centered around, and I mean, it's capitalism. I don't know how you get away from it, but it was like that 50 years ago, but it was the same basic structure, but it's different now, as like the Walter Cronkites of the world or whatever. It's all about clicks on the internet or ratings watching. And it is absolutely, and again, I don't mean to get into a whole racist thing or whatever, but it really, this is one of those instances where I do think it makes a difference that these were young, white, suburban white kids.
Okay. What's the difference that you feel that it makes?
Well, I think that people are more concerned about it. It's kind of like the Casey Anthony thing, if it was an ugly black woman who killed her kid and put it in a coffee can or whatever under the sink or whatever the fuck she did, it would not nearly have been the ratings as a pretty young white girl.
Okay.
It just wouldn't. And I don't think that we would even be having this same conversation if it was like that. And usually I'm totally against that, stuff, as far as, stereotyping and racism, whatever, all of that general thing. But it's just, I think that more of a bigger deal is being made because it's white kids. We have black kids die every day in Chicago.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a shit.
So is your point that the way in which they're covering this speaks to an underlying level of racism in the media?
I wouldn't say level. No, I wouldn't say an underlying level of media racism in the media. I would just say that I don't think it's racism. I think that, I think that if this was the exact same scenario with black kids, I really don't think that it would have been covered as comprehensively as CNN covers it. I really don't.
All right.
But this is my opinion. Yeah. Totally my opinion, whatever.
Yeah. All right. But, well, then let's talk about this. In the last week, there have been a number of people who have stepped up and wanted to talk and share their opinion, which leads us to this thing of, is it offensive? Does it bother you when celebrities share their viewpoints on these political or these current events? Does it offend you?
Only when LeBron James does it because he's a fucking asshole. How's that?
Okay.
How's that for an answer?
It is an answer.
No, it is an answer. No. Does it? And I'm going to be totally honest with you. Like, It bothers me a lot more when it's not my same opinion.
That's fair.
In the same respect, it's funny, you think back to the RNC and the DNC, when all that was happening and the DNC had every celebrity you could possibly friggin' think of, and the RNC had
good
Chachi.
ones. Yeah, they had good ones. If we could get some good celebrities.
Right. We had Chachi.
Yeah.
Okay. And I still, I agree with basically what, everything he was saying. I watched him on there. I caught a few minutes of it or whatever. But it made me, like him slightly more, because, you feel that somewhat kinship, I guess, with people, when they share your opinion about something. But in that same respect, I really don't care what Chachi thinks.
Yes.
But the problem with this whole thing, though, is that I think why people are offended by this is because everybody wants to be heard. That's why we're doing this podcast. We want to be heard. We think our voices should be heard. That's why people have Facebook. A lot of people have Facebook pages. Mm-hmm. They want to be heard. People want to get their expressions out.
Yeah.
And celebrities have a much wider base to do that.
Huge platform.
Huge. So even though they're not political people, they delve into the political ring with all of that stuff. And that's why people get offended, because it's like, well, you shouldn't have this thing. You're just dribbling a ball, or you're just acting like another person on a movie.
Thank you. Because for me, there needs to be, we need to be able to look at these in the same light, regardless of where they fall in the political sphere. All right? We need to be objective enough to go, when Clint Eastwood came out years ago at the convention and started talking to the empty chair,
right.
Kind of creepy,
sure,
kind of thinking he's losing it.
Right.
We can't just always go, oh, it's so good, it's so, no.
Right.
Unfortunately, I will say, I wish Republicans did have a better quality of celebrity. Right now, we have basically Kid Rock, Ted Nugent, and Chachi.
Sure.
If we could get, a mainstream, awesome. John Voight, but
okay.
as soon as he said this,
James Woods,
is it Kelsey Grammer?
Okay.
But we need somebody current. We need one of these young kids.
Chuck Woolery.
Yeah, we have Chuck Woolery. If we could get we could get Thor, if we could get one of the Helmsworth boys, that would help. We need to whatever it is, the Australian kid. But look,
Paul Hogan.
Yeah, these celebrities, they have the right.
Too soon?
These celebrities have the right to their opinion, and I can't blame them for their opinion. Here's where I draw the line, though. When LeBron James, as many of you know, was making some comments after the game, and he shared some of his viewpoints on Trump, Laura Ingraham then came back with a quote, "Shut up and dribble." Okay. Now, just as he has his right to say what he wants to say, she has her right to say what she wants to say. Okay?
Sure.
And I think that where she's wrong is that he wasn't doing this. He wasn't dribbling down the court, stopping the game, and then showing the world his "I hate Trump" tattoo. He was doing this after the game. He wasn't intersecting these two. And that is what bothers me. As I mentioned to you before in one of our earlier episodes with U2, or with Bruce Springsteen, or the Dixie Chicks, or whomever, there are some artists that when I have now paid you money to go ahead and sing these songs or to perform this act, that's what I'm wanting to see. Okay. That's what I'm paying for. I'm not going to stop you from doing interviews with Rolling Stone and sharing how you personally feel about it. You absolutely have that right. But in this arena, whether it be on the court or on stage or during the play or during the TV show, I would appreciate it if I could actually, escape from reality for a few minutes and just enjoy this. That's what does bother me. So that's why she's wrong when she's saying "shut up and dribble," because he didn't do it in an inappropriate spot, and he does have the right. The next area, though, that I come to is I consider the source. So when I listen to what they're going to say, when I hear Robert De Niro, a fantastic actor, when I hear him want to go ahead and bash Trump, which is his right, I have to ask myself, This man who pretends to be other people, why do I value his opinion on these matters so much? LeBron James. I'm not going to try to nail him or cut him down because he didn't go to college, or this man has seen more of the world than many people will ever see. He has experienced culture. This man, he may not have a college education, but this is an educated man in more world kind of things, I think, than you or I, Jeff.
I don't think so.
Okay,
I'll tell you why real quick, because he's LeBron James, and when he goes to a different country or culture or whatever, he's treated like a god. He doesn't see the real thing. He doesn't. Okay, so what? He's traveled to places. Big whoop. I know, but I know a guy who's traveled to Africa, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but
so I mean, you've seen plenty of the world.
I guess
the problem is though is that like say Laura Ingraham. I think part of it is that she is somewhat pissed because she has her job. And her job is to report the news or give opinions or whatever. And then you've got this basketball player who's trying to dabble into her arena. Yeah. And she's like, well, I don't try to play basketball. You shouldn't try to do this. So why don't we both do our thing or whatever? But then in the same respect, when you're looking at, you're talking about how LeBron James's opinion is valid. It's an absolutely valid opinion. In the same respect, you're looking at a guy who is influencing millions of children. Yeah, that's the good thing and the problem. Yes, I guess is what Laura Ingraham is not influencing anyone, but LeBron when the young urban and suburban youth who want to be basketball players or just like LeBron or whatever hear him say, guns are bad. They go, I don't know if he did or not. I'm just saying. Yeah, they squawk it like a parrot and they say guns are bad.
That's true. And it's true for every icon or every idol.
Sure. Everybody who's iconic.
Yes. Like an iconicphotographer.com.
Yes.
I agree with that. So the point I want to return to, though, is that I can recall during the election, multiple celebrities stepping up and giving their 2 cents about it. And I remember putting on Facebook saying, why do I care what Bruce Springsteen thinks? And I can't understand it. I can't understand on 2 fronts. The most important front is that why do we all of a sudden really value their perspective? Because
we don't.
Because some people do.
Some do, but I'm saying when I say we, I mean me and you.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what the problem is I think is that people look at it and it drives me crazy. And I don't even care if it's Scott friggin' Baio or whoever. Yeah. If they're putting it out there. I want people to make up their own mind.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the problem is that the world is full. And I sound ridiculous, but the world is full of sheeps, and they just sit there and they whatever. Their favorite movie star says that's what they think. Correct. Or their favorite band thinks that's what they think. I know a person who basically their religion is their music that they grew up with not you, but when they were 15, and they sit there and Hall & Oates said not Hall & Oates.
One-on-one is the best sport,
right? But it's the same thing when the person's in their 40s and they're still going, yeah, Satan rules, and all this stupid shit. It's like, dude, that was cool when we were, and music's one thing and horror movies are one thing or whatever, but when you're actually living your life in regards to that, it's same with like people today who live their lives according to Facebook memes. We were at the hockey game the one year. This was a couple years ago, and this woman's behind us, and she is telling this whole story to this lady about I told her I am a strong, independent woman, and if you don't like it, blah 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 blah, and she repeated, like, I'm not kidding you, she repeated like 5 Facebook memes that I've seen, for the strong, independent woman page or whatever the fuck it is, and I'm like, oh my God, you're like living your life around memes.
Yeah, yeah.
No one
Some people
does
use the
anything
Bible. Some
right.
people have their spiritual advisors. Facebook tells me how to live.
Facebook, old bands. Yeah. I don't know. I don't.
Bon Jovi and Facebook. This is how I've learned.
Sure.
I'm living
It's
on a
my
prayer.
life. It's my life. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the celebrities are absolutely able to share their opinions. I think that we as a people need to just, I'm not doing it intentionally, but we do have to consider the source. And I'll be honest with you, when Ted Nugent says some stuff, I'm like, dude, just shut up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know.
He looks like a freaking
wacky.
lunatic. Like, I wished you disagreed with me. And on some things, I think if we dug deep enough.
I know it's funny because like it's the same with Trump, like Trump and Ted Nugent are kind of the same. Like they say, I basically for the most part, whatever, agree with the gist of what they say or whatever, but how they say it and everything, it gets people so riled up and left so in a tizzy and everything. I crack up as soon as I see and Trump does it like almost every day.
Yeah.
And I laugh so hard because I'm like, I can't believe he's actually doing this.
Yeah, they go for it every time. He is a habitual button pusher.
He is,
and he knows their buttons.
He is just a button pusher. That's what he does.
Yeah,
yes.
and they How many times does he have to push that button?
And again, here, let me do it then. If the left would just consider the source.
If they really would.
There you go.
But there's, Well, tell you what, this was fun. This was fun. Thank you guys for listening to another episode. We hope again that you're enjoying this. Please check us out on Facebook. We have a Twitter account. It's at What's Off Weekly, because What's Offensive Weekly was too many characters. So What's Off Weekly. Check us out there. Like us, follow us there. Check out our website, consideringthesource.com. You can go there, go to the podcast link, and that's where you can find Considering the Source episodes or What's Offensive Weekly. We check out our What's Offensive Weekly Facebook page. We're there. And don't forget www.iconicphotographer.com.
There you
Check
go.
out some of Jeff's work. And also, we still want to say a big shout out to they're not an official sponsor. They don't even know who we are. No. But we just want to give props to Donut Land in Brunswick, Ohio. Please head there.
Them. And you love it more than I do.
You know what I want you to do? When you go in there next time, say, Scott and Jeff sent us.
There you go. You go. I have a canvas print that I gave to them for their 45th anniversry there, and it's hanging up on the wall. So say that guy.
Yeah.
And do that. And this is what you do. I'm going to tell you, this is a little secret. There's a donut in there. It's a sour cream donut. Okay. And it's always the one with the most left over. Okay, whatever.
There's more of those than anything else.
Always seems to be more of those than any of them, and they are the most fantastic donut. The out of the regular donuts, you know what I mean. Okay. They have regulars and then fancies, what they call in the case in front of you. But these are they're like deep fried and like like moist. If you say
wow.
Moist, and then they're glazed on top. Oh my God, they're so good.
Yeah. So please visit Donut Land. Tell them Scott and Jeff with What's Offensive Weekly.
They won't know anything you're talking about.
I foresee a cease and desist notice
maybe
any day now.
Yes.
Yeah. So hey guys, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.